Good morning, and welcome to the Wednesday warm-up. The Wednesday warm-up is powered by The Inside Show. I am your host, Lee. I'm not joined by my trusty psychic. I do not know where he is at the moment.
He's probably watching on his phone in the car.
One thing about with him that we can start off by saying,
this.
one thing that we can say about him, he's truly African, because African time, Baba. He is African, my bro. But anyway, I'm joined by other people's here. Xavier Hendricks, hello, how are you? Are you African?
Yes, I am. What must I then be? Where was I born? Where do I come from? What must I say? Of course I'm African. Yes, yeah.
Away!
Massacre.
And then to my left over here, we've got Anka. Hey, brah, are you African?
I'm in a major identity crisis in light of today's topic. I mean,
She's a white.
In light of, look, choice of words. Yo.
so I'm not. It's not make sure today. We will see.
Chezo. How's it, brah?
Welcome.
How's it, brah?
Welcome.
Morning.
Chezo, how are you, brah?
I'm just getting in with my inner bushman.
Nice.
You are
I
here.
love it.
Like
But
it.
first question.
Baba's on holiday.
No, he's just always full.
First and foremost, are you African?
Me? No.
What are you?
What are you?
I am
Khoisan.
a Khoi from Africa. I am African. Yeah.
Okay, Kwai. We just want to establish that quickly, get that out of
No,
the way.
what must we be? Where we
was
No.
getting to that.
The higher
from
powers,
here, so we have
which
to-
is considered the West, has decided you are not African
Yeah.
because
you
you are
know
not
what we
dark
are
enough. You're not
Yeah,
dark
so
enough.
what are we then?
But before we get
We
into that,
alienators.
maybe we are the first AI creation.
Yeah, I
But
think.
listen,
I
even
think-
white people that are born here, that are literally third generation. What must they say?
can't say third generation. It's been generation upon generation.
I don't know. I'm asking
Because
the
what must they
question.
say?
I'm
Because
putting the question
my
out
friends
there.
at school that are white,
Yeah.
their parents were born here in Joburg. They were born here in whichever hospital. What must they say where they're from?
So let's get the definition going here, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at a couple of definitions because they're gonna say, yeah, but that is colonial definition. So let's look at a couple of definitions. We'll start with the Collins Dictionary, and it says here that it says that African means belonging or relating to the continent of Africa or to its countries or people. And then there was another definition that said that it is people born or belonging to Africa. Born in Africa or belonging to Africa.
So by definition,
So definition, all the white people here in South Africa is
it's
Africans.
African.
So by definition, to answer the initial question that we posed, we are African. Where were you born in, Anka? Let's establish that first. Let's introduce to the new people that have never met you before. Let us introduce you because you are considered the lightest in terms of skin tone
Got a
on this
light
show.
skin friend.
So, where were you born?
Well, I am proudly Namibian. Thank you very much.
What is your national anthem? How does it go?
Namibia, land of the
Namibia.
brave, freedom fight. We have won.
Won.
Okay,
Okay, just
I
speak
don't know.
another language.
Nice. Yeah, me also. I'm like, yeah.
You gotta say it with like,
Trying to
with like
compete
with
with
that.
her.
But just for
Kosisi
context,
Kelele.
I am the lightest in my family.
Okay. Like your entire family, like from your
No.
mother and father. You mean your immediate
Oh,
family?
you have aunties that look like.
The first time
Like
Xavier
Buddha
went there,
Tonnies.
he was like,
So,
"Are
hello,
these people
Tony.
white?"
Hello,
Because
Tony.
they've got the green eyes going. And they've got,
Green
Anka
eyes
look like
blonde,
Tani.
eh?
so there's a
Look
lot
at
of
Tony.
European like
Influence.
obviously, but
Aniki.
they,
You don't deny your European influence, do
no,
you?
but I don't deny my black either.
Okay.
So I mean,
No, you have no blood.
yeah, my
you're
hair
white.
would tell a different story.
Let's just wait until
After the shower, you will see the black.
Like you dodge the rain, which is why you don't find me outside. In the rain.
Anka's basically the opposite of... She's a vampire, but she's got the opposite effects. You know, when the vampire is going to the sun, they shimmer. When she goes into the rain, she melts.
Oh, sugar.
But, and you, Jess, where were you born and raised?
I was
Paraguana.
in a.
Where were you born? Paraguana Hospital.
I wasn't. I was actually Marymount.
Me
sorry.
too. Away.
Thank you, Mary Mount Mensa.
Marymount, the hospital is no longer there, but
Ish.
it's alright.
I one of the
That
best.
means your birth doesn't Exactly.
Yo, erasure.
Yo, you see?
That's what's
You see?
happening. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. So
So
you
that
are
means
not.
you're not a real person.
You're not here. Yeah, I was born in Marymount. I'm from Marymount.
From here.
Yeah.
Marymount sounds very colonial,
We were
JC.
living in Klipspruit when you were
Klipspruit,
born.
yeah.
If
I
it's
was in
colonial,
Klipspruit.
sorry, then you're not African.
I don't tell me Klipspruit. What was it? St.
Klipspruit
Matthew Street.
West. St. Matthew.
So make you your address and what
I'm
postal
not gonna stay there
PO
anymore.
box
Toxing. Who's staying there now?
So you were born in South Africa.
So you can go visit there if you
So
want
you are
to.
African.
Yes, I would like to consider myself African, seeing that I was born and raised
Okay.
in South
Your
Africa,
whole life you
which
were
is
here.
part of
I
Africa.
was born
In case you
Lemnet.
didn't know.
I was
You?
born in Lemnet, so I'm technically Indian.
Lemnet.
Lemnet.
Lemnet. You.
What is it?
That took a wrong
Len-
turn.
Handmade.
In
Yeah.
Lens.
In Lens. I'm technically Indian.
Yeah.
Hey,
You see, what kind, Lani?
Yeah, Lani. So you are African.
no,
Yeah.
he's not.
No, I'm Indian.
Okay. Okay.
I'm part Indian because I was born there. I'm part colored because then I lived in Klipspruit.
So, does that make the
And then I'm part white because then we moved to
South.
Mondio.
And you part black because the church is located. It's
Next to
considered
Soweto.
Soweto.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's considered
so
Soweto.
actually,
So I'm part everything.
So does that make me black too? I'm just asking for a friend.
yeah.
I mean-
you then said initially in the beginning.
So, but here's the thing, though. I know
Yeah, but-
we're obviously joking, but we're not joking. But we
Koi
obviously
isn't-
know that it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
There's a whole lineage that your grandparents
Yeah,
were
but-
from where and wow. We understand that.
yes,
But my question by the definition of like Africans are black, that means Koi isn't black.
yeah,
Okay. I'm just
yeah. But this is what we're getting into, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, for those of you who just joined us, thank you so much for tuning in. The topic today is a highly controversial topic that has been trending on the socials, that has been trending out there in social media land. And so it's basically, it started off with the new Netflix documentary that's coming out soon, and it is the executive producer is Jada Pinkett Smith, for those of you who do not know, and it is called
that's why.
Queen Cleopatra. It's a Netflix documentary. So I just want to, first and foremost, let's lay the cards on the table. Like, firstly, it is classified in terms of its genre
Yes.
as a documentary, right? But why is it controversial? So the controversy comes in because our sister over here, I'm just going to go to that. I don't have that slide right now. I'm going to play you the trailer, a piece of the trailer. Jay, if you've got the trailer there, it's that first one.
Are you selling
that's
food in
up
the
there.
trailer?
Yeah, I'm selling food in the trailer.
Makota.
So the reason why it's so controversial is because they cast a what would be considered, she's actually mixed if you look at her, right? Her name is Adele James. She's a British actress, and they cast her to play the role of Cleopatra in this documentary, and it's part of Jada Pinkett Smith's series, her docu-series of African queens. And it's to highlight the powerful black African leaders, specifically women. So I'm specifically using the term black. On our previous show that we had a couple of months ago, last year sometime, during the time of Heritage Month, which was September, we were speaking about this whole thing about race, right? And we were talking about the contention between the black and the brown and the colored and the Indian and the use of those terms, white and stuff like that. And many scholars believe that those terms are colonial terms. It's not something that Africa was born with.
Yeah.
Nobody said that, yous are black and yous are white. It was tribal.
Yeah.
And it's still very, very largely is tribal. That's the reason why in South Africa we have several tribes. We've got the Zulu tribe, we've got the Xhosa tribe, we've got the Khoi tribe, we've got the San tribe, we've got the Ndebele tribe, we've got all these tribes, right? But since colonialism, they came with the terms white, black, colored, obviously for racial classification, in order to suppress or to exert the colonialist, to exert their authority over non-European people or non-white people. Also, there's no such thing as non because we are not a non-entity, people of color. So we call ourselves people of color. So to exert the authority over people of color and to do that whole thing of divide and conquer. But we have still kept with some of those terms like black and colored and white, and it's no longer European and African. And we don't go according to tribes anymore. We predominantly first and foremost go for race, right? And the race is black, white, colored in our cases, and then we would go Asian, which doesn't make sense to me because now you're going. But that's the thing. But that's not a race. It's a culture. It's an ethnicity. It's a nationality. Indian. It's only this small select group of people, if you think about it: black, colored, white, and then what else? Because you say Asian from the continent of Asia, you say Indian, which is part of Asia.
And then you can't call it Indian
Chinese,
Indian either because how many generations are now already living here in South Africa? We're talking about in Durban, there's a large population.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
Is that
yes?
The apartheid government has obviously put the Indian people up here in Joburg. A lot of them in lanes in different areas, around lanes being one of the big ones.
So before we go into that, let me just play the trailer for you guys, and then we'll go into, because I first and foremost want to discuss the issue that the reason why people are upset with this whole documentary. Well, a vast majority of people. Right, here we go.
Cleopatra was a Ptolemaic ruler. The very first Ptolemy is a general of Alexander the Great.
It's possible that she was an Egyptian.
I imagine her to have curly hair like me and a similar skin color.
I remember my grandmother saying to me, I don't care what they tell you in school, Cleopatra was black.
She has become an icon.
I am a god, queen of kings.
Her story resonates with every woman.
Okay. So there you have it. So like I said to you, right, a lot of people are up in arms, especially Egyptians, because of the choice of casting the lead Cleopatra as what Jada Pinkett Smith and the team at Netflix and Channel and producers and the whole team would consider black, because it's part of your African Queen series, and it's to empower black people. So what do you guys think about this?
It's one thing to say, why are the people up in arms because, it's a movie, whatever, people are watching, she's an actress. But the reality of the matter, this is like you opened it. It is a documentary, and the purpose of a documentary is to show the actual facts of history, is to depict what happened back there, which is why it's important to depict it accurately.
Yeah.
To do research, to say what was the history, and then go back into that and then depict that.
Okay.
People were Egypt was up in arms when Gal Gadot. Yeah. When she wanted to do it, given that there was other political history there,
yes,
right, and I personally think she looked more like Cleopatra could have looked,
yeah.
But because of political history and political contention, they put up a big fight about that. But in terms of this, I wholeheartedly believe no, she wasn't black, and history tells she wasn't black. If you have to go back into a genealogy, she wasn't black. So why are we forcing the issue that she was black? And the other thing was, when we were doing research, it was the fact that Elizabeth Taylor also did this, and no one was up in arms about that. But the reality of the matter is that Elizabeth Taylor might have very well just looked more like Cleopatra could have looked like back in the day. And they weren't punting the fact that she was white.
Yeah.
Here they want to make a statement that Cleopatra was black, and she wasn't black.
I mean, it's a documentary. You heard what that one woman said in the trailer. She says, my mother told me that I don't care what they tell you at school. Cleopatra is black. So you are making this about race. But also, the documentary is being...
But also knowing Jada and knowing that whole feminist black power movement vibe that she goes with, it's obviously clear that that's the aim she's trying to, that's the agenda she's trying to push. It's as clear as day. And then that's why I'm saying they must just use brown people to do everything, because then nobody can squeal. We mixture of all.
Yeah, we
but that was half black.
Okay, but then again, this lady, a lady, Adele James, who is the actress that is playing Cleopatra, she is considered of mixed ancestry as well. So
because
then
she's
again,
dark
you ask the question. So what's wrong with her playing the role?
But this is where this whole racial thing falls flat, because technically we all somehow mixed somewhere somehow. Even when people do that DNA test that they send to wherever, they come back, then they find they 10% of this and
Yes.
10% of that and 10%.
No
of
one is pure
So
anymore,
technically
like
now,
the pure
who's
race.
pure then at the end? It's the same argument that goes with sin. Like if you trying to point out, yeah, those people are doing this, and then you realize, but I'm also doing this. Then okay, now where exactly are we drawing the line of this is that, and that is that?
Yeah.
And if we do draw those lines, what are the reasons behind drawing those lines? Okay, we are pure black race, like what Hitler did. We are a pure Nazi race.
Yeah.
We all have blue eyes, blonde hair. This is us.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what's the outcome of that result? Where are we going with it? What are we trying to
But
achieve?
so are you saying that they... Yo.
It wasn't me.
It's me. So are you saying that this is like... There's no point in arguing it. They should just continue going
Yeah, is that
on
what
with
you're
it.
saying?
Because if you're saying there's no
Clear-cut lines.
clear-cut lines, they should just
No,
let it slide.
I'm saying they must be as historically accurate as
as
possible.
possible.
Okay.
If she was a certain color or certain look, they must do the due diligence. It's the same argument with Jesus.
Yeah.
Some people, why are we making Jesus white?
White.
Why are we? Because which
And
is
that is
which is the
historically
argument. Because
inaccurate.
it is inaccurate.
Yes.
But now they say, okay, how did he really look?
Yeah.
And then they come to the conclusion that he looked brown
He was
because
olive tone.
it was a mixture of different and the time in which the people lived and the
The
overall
sun,
vibe of how they looked was X. So then I'm saying let it be as is, because if it's a documentary and the whole point is to be historically accurate, then be historically accurate.
Yeah, and there was an article they wrote, about Jada and Willow, doing research and what, and they're like, no, and she had the opportunity to go and meet with the Egyptologist or whatever, which speaks about the history of the Egyptians, but she just unfortunately couldn't make it. I mean, and the commentary
She couldn't make it?
Yeah, she couldn't make it, but the commentary is,
So you can't make it. You mustn't busy
if you
with
made the effort to make it to this, he could have told you what it is and you could have saved your money by not making this. Because the reality of the matter is, as much as she is beautiful and she's a beautiful, her genealogy is not in question. That's not something here for the show.
Yeah.
But her appearance is not an accurate depiction of what Cleopatra might have looked like, because she was of Greek descent.
Yeah.
So if anything, she had pale features with dark hair. She was pale skinned with dark features, like dark eyebrows, lashes, and all of that. But that could have been more of an accurate depiction of who she is. We're not saying that her being black does not depict an Egyptian, because
Can I ask a question? Does all dark-skinned people come from Africa and all light-skinned people come from Europe?
according to Americans,
Yeah, according to the Western world. That's true.
you are not African if you are not black. You
Yep.
must be dark skinned.
I mean, if you look at some of, remember, keep in mind once again, and I just want to re-emphasize this is a documentary, so you have to at least be historically accurate, right? So if you look at Jay, if you just want to put up that photo, that picture of the statue of Cleopatra, if you look at what she would be depicted to look
They
as,
look like a white auntie.
a white lady. Okay, there's curly hair there, right?
Yeah, but check the nose.
I don't think that's curly hair. I think that was more the headgear and stuff they used to wear as Grecians. They used to have like quickies on their head.
Yeah.
But who made this image?
That's another
And how
question.
accurate is this? And
So
where did
if
this
you
come
look at
from?
the coins,
Yeah, because she
right?
doesn't have eyes here.
If you look at the Alexandrian wow, okay,
Why,
JC.
thank you,
But you
JC.
can see that the eyes are quite big, right? And it's deep seated, which is generally a feature of Europeans, right?
Yes.
And you must also remember, but before we
Even
get into
those
that,
lips, those don't look
she's
like black people.
she's Macedonian Greek, right?
Yes.
With a lot of Arab influence.
Yes.
And if you look Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and that's the reason why many Africans themselves, mostly because of Western ideology, do not consider North Africa as part of Africa, because they say, and this
Yes.
is what the Egyptians are fighting about. They are saying, how are you rewriting our history for us?
Yes. How are you telling us?
How are you telling us? Because people are saying that Egyptians are invaders. The current Egyptians that is living, they are Arab invaders that is currently living in Egypt. And the one guy, which I'm gonna play you his video soon, right? His name is a comedian. an Egyptian comedian. His name is Bassem Youssef. And he was saying that it's strange to me that other people are rewriting our
Telling
history.
us what
So
our
he
history
says, like, for instance, like with African America, like with this African Queen series, are you telling me there was no other black African queens that you could have used? Because that's an insult towards black people. You are telling me that you had to go and appropriate somebody else's culture in order to
establish your identity.
But it's the same thing when they come here and make movies. It's like, okay, so you are bringing now Idris Elba to come and be Mandela, as if we don't have
Well, South Africa
black
has
actors
brilliant actors.
just see.
that can play Mandela, that would probably, more likely than not, have probably even met Mandela, because Mandela only died not so long ago. There's people that are alive now that would have, the chances are that they would have known him, they would have met him, they would have spent
So
time
you're
with him.
asking, where did this come from? If you look at the coin, right, the Alexandrian coin, there's a stamp of Alexander the Great, which was obviously, he brought Cleopatra to Egypt, according to scholars.
Yes.
And she became pharaoh because Alexander the Great died, and then her husband, which was actually her brother, it was an incest marriage. He
that was
also
common.
died.
That was common.
It was common among Egyptians.
Yes.
In fact, this is the thing about
To
Egyptians.
keep the throne in the family.
But Egyptians in general, right? They were so patriotic towards their nationality and towards their culture that they married in the family.
In the family.
To keep the bloodline going strong. So anyway, with Cleopatra, for instance, on the coin, there's a picture. She's depicted on the Alexandrian coin, her and Alexander the Great, and she looks like this. The coin is evidence that this is what she looked like. She had that Grecian nose, like you were saying. She had that deep-seated eyes with those big round eyes. And there was dark features. When we speak about dark features, we're talking about like your hair color and stuff like that. But there's also other historical evidence that shows that she was actually quite red-headed. She had ginger undertones.
So, well, in Egyptian history, they used to shave off their hair and wear wigs.
Yes.
Because they were so enamored with looking perfect.
Yeah.
So, and obviously they had the whole
Grooming
makeup
and stuff.
grooming
Like how
and
people
stuff.
shave off their eyebrows and draw it.
They literally
Yeah.
darkened their features. So, you know, that is in question. And then also the fact that she might have been pale can be in question, but not to the point where that she was completely dark.
Yes.
So, historically, they painted all women the same color because they were considered to be in the house all the time. Men was
Yes.
darker because they were outside all the time.
Yes.
So that can be in question. However, they did depict the darker the person, they were completely brown in the painting.
The
in
sweeter the
painting.
juice.
Ish.
Thank you, guys.
Deep the roots.
Thanks, guys. So, you know, she was definitely not dark skinned, but she might have had a slight bit of maybe an olive tone, maybe. But historians do believe because she was from Greek Macedonian descent and she came afterwards that she didn't look like the natives.
Yeah.
She didn't look like the
That's why they
people
were
in
so
Egypt.
powerful.
Yeah. She was extremely, she did look different, no doubt about
But she
that.
good looking.
She was apparently
was-
good looking.
All reports say
Because
she
her
was
auntie
good
just
looking.
look like a Lani auntie.
But
Let's look like Tony Morta.
Yeah, but you must remember, standards of beauty has changed,
Has
over the
changed,
years.
yes.
And standards of beauty are different for
Bishop's coming for you.
every place across the world. So now we're gonna go into
Met Ellis Ben on like a tiny.
Aish, bro.
That was Grecian style, though.
So now you ask yourself the question, we're going back to the question, is Africa black? Because what about another thing that people are arguing about, because the people that are for the casting of a predominantly black actress as Cleopatra is saying that, but why are you getting so upset about the fact that we are casting? So the director of Cleopatra, she's also a lady, she says that, well, I don't know what her pronouns are, but this is what I see, right? And she said that this is a reimagined Cleopatra.
Like imagine.
No,
I
we
feel-
are reimagining Cleopatra in a document.
Nah, then that doesn't make sense, gents.
So then there's no use to watch it.
And that's why
Because
Piers
it's
Morgan
fantasy.
asked yesterday, if they have to now make a Mandela movie and it's a white man, will you be alright with that? He said, No, but we know it's a black. Now exactly. Now how are we saying that's a reimagined Mandela?
This is what I'm not sure what his name was. That Egyptian guy said. He said that this is not fantasy. This is not Ariel or some Disney movie that we're trying to,
It's a documentary.
It's an actual. These are actual events that happened in history. So you can't come fantasize it and decide that it should just look like someone completely. Like, why don't we put an Indian lady there, or why don't we let's put a Chinese
So
lady
apparently they
as
also were considering Zendaya.
Yes, they were.
And Bassem Youssef was saying, okay, cool, Zendaya is a cool actress, but her ancestry is Nigerian and German.
Now what?
So we asked the question, he's like, what about the Egyptian actresses? They are
and that's
plenty.
the argument we have. There are plenty.
There are plenty of Egyptian. Guys, this is a documentary. It is not a work of fiction. It's not a fictional movie.
The point is to try and be accurate.
The one guy on TikTok, this black guy also, he was like, well, I think he's African American. I would assume, looking at him, he's racially classified as African American. Nowadays, you can't say
Don't
because
assume he's race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he was
identifies
saying
white.
he's like he doesn't understand why everybody's making such a big deal out of it. It's a movie. It's not a movie. It's a documentary.
But I think that is the difference. People don't understand what
Since
a
when?
movie and
Look, I was having this conversation with Evangelique, who is Friday Gabfest's host, and she was saying, I mean, look at Dharma, right? The documentary. And that was a reimagined docu-series. It was actually not even really a documentary. It had a bit of fiction as well, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a documentary. It was
It had
more
like
so
a series vibe to it.
It was more a docu-series. There was some factual truth to it, but they still tried to, fictionalize it somehow.
it was based on
But they
true
cast
events,
Dharma, the guy that played
look
the
like
role,
Dharma.
to look like Dharma.
Exactly like
the lady
Dharma.
from what's
With
it?
the glasses and others.
Anna.
Yeah.
Finding Anna, becoming Anna,
Becoming,
whatever.
yeah.
You cast, and again, that's not a documentary. That is also a work of fiction. It's a reimagined. This is a documentary. The people are saying, they're busy arguing, oh, she could have been Egyptian. Oh, she could have. Okay, but then, guys, her parents came to Egypt, right? They came with Alexander the Great. They were here. She was the ruler of Egypt. She was actually the first in her family. They called them the Ptolemaic. They were Ptolemaic generals. She was the first of her people to learn the Egyptian language. So,
which once again says that she wasn't Egyptian
to begin with.
which means she didn't look like the locals. She looked
like a lotus.
So I'm going to play you this video, and this is the guy that I was talking about. He's Dr. Bassem Youssef. He's a comedian, but he's also apparently I heard that he's a surgeon as well. So
powerful.
So let's play it.
He made jokes.
This is what he says.
Oh, that's his name.
It's not about black and white. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement. The Afrocentric movement started last century as a way, in a good intention, to teach African American about their rich history of West Africa, the great empire of Benin, of Ghana, of Songhali, the great empire of Mali. But the thing is, that's why you find people like Kevin Hart, who subscribes to these theories, who claim that his ancestors built the pyramids. I'm sorry, your ancestors had their own wonderful civilization in West Africa. They are culture appropriating my culture, calling the people of Egypt of today, despite their skin tone, that they call us as invaders, they call us as intruders, and they are being erased from our own history. They call us as intruders, and they are being erased from our own history.
Okay, so based on that, what do you guys say to that? Because this is an Egyptian, born and raised in Egypt.
I think it's the same. It's the same argument that we have when Americans come here to South Africa and come make movies here.
Ooh. Okay. Thank you.
It's the same argument that we have when Americans come to South Africa, make movies here about a South African story. But then they bring these other, actors from America, from British actors or whatever. And then the question still stems like, how about chance we didn't have a whole entertainment industry here? You want to tell me there's no one that you could do? And now they must try to, and it is a cultural appropriation. Now they must, they bring that now they try to imitate now it's actually now disrespectful because now ain't like who speaks like that. Now are you making us dumb or are you playing a fool or what? When we have a million actors that could have spoken properly and would have had a genuine South African accent because they are South African.
Look, my frustration actually comes in with the Africans themselves, that we assimilate more to Western and to American culture than what we do to our own. For the fact that, say for instance, in our own continent, if we as brown people or racially classified as colored, if we had to put on an accent like, hey brother, why you go like this, and you know, it would be considered,
it's condescending,
it's condescending and it's racist. When a Westerner or an American does it because they're African American, when they do it, it's fine. But yet we are African ourselves,
and we accept it. Because we watch the movies
and we
do
celebrate
that.
it.
We celebrate
it.
But here's the thing with that is that Hollywood doesn't really care about the facts. They just want the money, which means that they will take your story of your country and they will place their actor so that it can make sales. Sell there.
Because if you come with your actor that nobody knows here, and then go there now, it's going to be like,
so it's not about the facts. It's not about getting things straight. It's about making money off it, which is why they bring in Idris. And Idris Elba is one of my favorite actors. He's a brilliant actor. But
he is not Mandela.
But then you have, what's the other guy that played Mandela afterwards? The guy that I think he used to be on Isidingo or used to be on Generations or something. I can't remember.
The one that passed away?
No.
You're talking about Shona.
No, he's still alive. The one that Jade also went to go do what with. I met him a couple of times, but I can't remember his name. I think he played the South African version of that movie, Invictus or something. I think it was called Invictus.
Yeah, what's his name now?
One, the rugby one.
Yeah, I think the rugby one.
It's Invictus, yeah.
Are you Googling it?
I am. Invictus, there is Morgan Freeman here. He played Mandela.
Yeah, he did play
Mandela. Even worse. I'm talking about...
I know who you're talking about. I'm trying to look for it also.
Invictus Cologne.
Thank you.
I'm looking for it. I don't know.
What's his name, bro?
You don't know.
I had his girlfriend on my...
Anyway,
on my
you can continue what you were trying to say. Or you must know his name to continue.
Nah, it's just an asset in my head now, but it's fine. You can continue.
We'll find it. But
okay, you were going to say something?
I lost my train of thought.
I feel Mr. Basim here. Because even as a brown person in South Africa, it's like they try to write you out of the books. Even if you look at, let's take Wakanda as an example even. Yes, it's a great movie. People love it. But it's just...
It's not accurate.
It's not accurate.
And they have Namibian culture in there also. You know what was the funny? I was watching this movie, Adam Sandler's movie.
Atandwa Kani.
No.
John Kani's son.
No.
Oh, I think he also played something at some point, Mandela.
But that's not
the person I'm thinking about.
So I was watching this movie, Murder Mystery with Jennifer Aniston, and so I'm watching the first one or the second one. I'm not sure which one it was, and they have a Namibian general there. And they say that, but this Namibian general just looks like Idi Amin.
Oh, I see you picture and
I'm like, my guys, you couldn't do a bit of research. I know it's supposed to be funny and all of that, but that's just condescending.
Yeah.
The way they did it was just very condescending. And I'm sitting out here, I'm happy my name, the Namibians are being mentioned. But are we going to celebrate that it's being mentioned in such a condescending way? I don't think, and it's fairly early on in the movie. It's the first one, Murder Mystery.
They
the
released
first one.
2 now, so.
Yeah, they released 2. And Mr. Namibian General, and in 2 he has no arm. But he's a Namibian General. No Namibian General dresses like that.
And another thing that upset a lot of Egyptians is that Jada Pinkett Smith was saying that, there's even so the Egyptians are saying that they're going to boycott the documentary because they were like, this is cultural appropriation, this is cultural erasure, we are not going to stand for it. Because Basim also makes he alludes to something. He says that Egyptians have been fighting so hard to get their artifacts back the Egyptian artifacts back from European museums, right? Because now they all claim to the Egyptian artifacts. And they were saying that, he says that God forbid that African Americans now begin to believe that Egyptian culture is their culture, and they take our artifacts, and we fought so hard. We fought so hard to get it back, to reclaim our history and to reclaim our artifacts, and now you just coming in here and you are laying claim to a history that is not your own. Because he was saying, like he mentioned here, this Afrocentrism movement that's happening. Yes, congratulations, good for you for finding your roots. Most of your roots will be found in Western Africa, in Eastern Africa, some of you in Northern Africa, but not everybody can claim that. Not all of African Americans can claim that. In fact, most African Americans cannot claim North Africa heritage. They cannot claim North Africa culture. They will be able to claim West and East, or maybe and Central Africa, but you know, the fact that you now want to come and appropriate other cultures, it's a slap in the face, because you know what it is for people to appropriate your own culture. You know the heartache that goes with that. You know about blackface. You know how hard it is to reclaim your culture as your own. But now you are basically doing, it's like we always say with reverse discrimination, you are doing unto other people
exactly what they were doing to you.
What they were doing
didn't
to
like
you.
it when they were doing it to you.
So now you're upset because Egypt is fighting, and you're saying, yeah, it's because Egypt doesn't want to be classified as African. They are African. They're not denying the fact that they are African, but they are North African, and Africa has many shades. Africa is not black. It's not solely black. In fact, even within the black community, however you'd like to call that, you know, however you'd like to describe that or define that, because what is blackness anyway? Is one person more black than the other? Yes. Does that make them more African than the other? Now we're going into colorism. You see how mixed up it gets? It just becomes a hot mess.
But
and that's the reason why
you can't really pin it to something, because
really,
it's all over the place.
And that's what that girl said, Nora said, I don't remember her surname. What she said basically was, us as Africans don't know about black, and maybe us here in South Africa now because of apartheid and because of colonial whatever, but Africa in general is not like we are African and therefore we are black. We are tribal. We've got the, like, if you look at Egypt, you've got the Nubians, the I don't know, all the other tribes that is there.
Kemet.
Yes, that is there. But that didn't say that there was no discrimination, say, but you are black, or I'm lighter than you, or I look different from you. It was more just that they were true to their cultures, they're true to their tribe and what they embodied, what they did within their cultures. And that was the same for us. It had nothing to do with the fact that you were black, white, or colored.
It's like the argument that people say, nobody can claim to be the original people of this land. If we are going to talk about Africanness, then would the San people of South Africa not be the most African in Southern Africa?
They are, because they are the first.
And also, they have not assimilated to Western culture, like the rest of the African cultures have.
Yes.
So would that not make them then more African? So when we gonna start comparing Africanness to each other? You must be very careful. Because it can't be what's good for the geese. It must be what's good for the geese is good for the gander. You can't want to just say...
Not just Uganda.
Not just Uganda, yeah. You know, there has to be... Goedes moet balance, jelle. Goedes moet balance.
Yeah.
You can't just keep saying that...
I remember his name.
Oh, wow.
What was his name?
Was searching.
Mishu.
Yes, it is Tumishu.
Well, there's no recollection here of Tumishu acting as Mandela. But anyway, so young Egyptians, right? The Egyptians are in, they are upset, my bro. They are upset because they saying, whoa. And the people on the Afrocentric side, the people on the Afrocentric side that is pro casting a black woman as Cleopatra, they are saying that it's because Egyptians are racist. And a lot of the Egyptians is like, oh, whoa.
They have everything.
Firstly,
it's the scapegoat. It's the cop-out.
Yeah, you racist.
Firstly, let us just establish, like they say, Africa is actually the most diverse continent when it comes to shades
of grey.
Never mind tribes, right? I'm talking skin tone, right? That you can go from extremely light skinned to extremely
Thank you for the
dark-skinned, right? And it also depends on where in Africa you find yourself.
You can be light
Closer
skin
to
with hair.
if the sun is saying thing like that one girl Nora, the video that we watched, she was saying, because she's about my skin tone.
Yeah.
She's I'd say more or less my skin tone. She's got a bit of more of a yellow undertone than what I do. But she was saying, if I were to be in the sun a little bit longer, I would also become darker. When I'm in the sun during summer, does that make me more African?
Yeah.
Yo, when I was
In the
Brazil,
winter-
I was
American
very
standards, yes.
African.
In the winter, I'm not that African.
In the winter, you become European.
But can you see? It's like
Change what
So
you
So
That's
now
why I'm
you-
saying the
how
argument is pointless
It's
because
trash.
it's like, hey man, guys, where are we going? That's why I'm asking the original question I asked earlier. Where are we going with this? What are we trying to achieve here in the end? What are we saying? So if we are going with culture and original ethnicity, then we can have a conversation. But the second you make it a skin tone color issue, then now you lost
There's
me,
just
bro.
too much
because
going on with this documentary as a whole.
too
First
all
of
over
all,
the show.
Jada's involved, so that's just a red.
That's already a red flag.
I mean, the comment that I read yesterday was, if saying Cleopatra was black is the same as saying that Jada was a loving wife, you know, it's like it's just a no can do, and that one hits hard. That one just kills it. And then the thing is that she tried to take something that wasn't. I mean, there are so many other queens too. And, you know, can you say that really? Because the reality of the matter is African culture is that the man, you know,
we're going back to the original. It's a documentary. You cannot reimagine the main character of the documentary, because they're also saying that, but if you look at the rest of the cast, they are white. Yeah, you are depicting the Romans as white. How can you get that correct? But the rest of Egypt is just, they've got West African hairstyles. I don't know, did you see in the trailer where the hair is like braided up like that?
Yes.
Where in Egypt during that time?
And that's what Nora was saying, is that they were so enamored with the way they looked. They shaved their hair to wear wigs that was like
It's
really
like that is
straight.
another
How?
culture's, that is another African continent, country's culture. It is not Egypt's culture. You are culturally appropriating.
It's like what they made with Black Panther.
And how is
It was
that
like
okay?
all over the show. We're like, okay, now wait, where are we now? Because that's from Zimbabwe, that's from Namibia, that's from Ghana. It sounds like a South African accent, but we don't do that. It's like, okay, now wait. Guys, where are we now? So how, and I agree with what he's saying. It's like, how are we allowing the Americans to dictate to us what our culture is while we are still alive? We are in here. But now we must let them depict to us. And there's different parts of Africa where you can sometimes see different skin tones, different features, so like you'll find more of the Western Africa, closer to the western side, you'll find darker features, you'll find more bolder skin, like face features, like nose, lips, ears, different features that you'll find. Then when you come down to the sub-Saharan, you'll find it becomes a little bit lighter, it becomes more. There are certain traits that you can see. Sometimes you can see someone that like this person.
And if you look
They
at
are
North,
all African.
and North Africa, you are going to find, because cultures bleed into each other. The whole of Africa has cultures bleeding into each other. The most black country in Africa would be considered Nigeria, because it's predominantly dark-skinned, mid to dark-skinned black, right? Nigerian would be considered. The rest of Africa, you're going to find all sorts of shades and colors and ethnicities and mixtures.
That's arguable because, you've got your West Africa, so you've got your Cameroon, Congo, all those places, and they predominantly very dark.
They are predominantly
They
very
are
dark.
and
But
the
Nigeria
thing
is considered
when
geographically
I went to America, right, and I saw like black people, and when they come to South Africa and they do that whole kiss the ground, I'm back at the motherland thing. You know that whole thing. Remember there was a time people used to do that thing, I'm in the motherland, kiss the floor when they get off the
Say hi
plane
to
and stuff
Mandela
like that.
for me.
And then I would think, like, but the way a lot of the American black people look, even the stature, the fact that they're tall and big, and I'm like, nah, that looks more Congolese, Nigerian.
It's Western and Central.
It's not South Africa. You don't find us big black guys.
Yeah,
you'll find more like normal sized, lighter skinned.
In 2023, we're a global village.
Yeah, so now it's mixed.
Everything is
I
mixed.
mean, like when I first used to see that.
But let me show you.
You'd be hard pressed to find a black guy in South Africa.
Can I show you the absurdity of all of this, right? Because if there's if there's whitewashing, then there's blackwashing happening right now. You cannot deny that, right? And it's like we get it in South Africa a lot. A lot of the times we find it from our black brothers and sisters where they say to us, you guys don't have a culture. They say to colored people. It's the same thing that they're doing now. They are hijacking another person's culture and saying you don't have a culture. And it's dangerous because now you are rewriting history. If my child grows up in this current dispensation where people are hijacking each other's cultures, my child is also going to grow up thinking I don't have a culture, which is the furthest thing from the truth. If you look at colored culture, you will be able to see it's the same thing. It's the same argument that the Egyptians have. Just because you don't know about my culture doesn't mean I don't have a culture. There's a difference there, right? That it's so bad that and it's the world at large, where the world is saying like, this Afrocentrism movement is getting out of hand. Because now they're saying that, if you look at our ancestors, right, from the haplo group, the Homo sapiens, right, and you look at that most of us derive from the L gene, which was an ancestor in Western Africa, someplace that migrated and so forth. Now they're saying that the whole world is African, right? If you think about it, that Africa is the motherland, right? There is some facts to that.
With this whole thing coming with the DNA test,
it's
true. A lot of people that are European that have
African ancestry or DNA markers. Yeah. It's the truth. But now you are going and you're saying that, Africa built the world. It's like, guys, where are we going with this? So now we just nobody has a culture. We must all now just assimilate with Africa. Which is also not right. You are just doing reverse of what the West are doing.
And this is what I always say, in anything there must always be balance. If you're driving a point, that's great. But don't I want to drive that point through everything and bulldoze everything and then make that a blanket statement for everyone. It doesn't work like that, because the reality of the matter, we are all different. We come from different cultures. We come from different bloodlines and genealogy. We can't just all be one blanket. Die hele wêreld is nou African. Well, I am African. Just saying.
So they said that Afrocentrism, so why is there so much controversy? In fact, I like what the Egyptians are doing actually, and I commend them on that. They are definitely pushing back. They are suing Netflix. So there is a lawyer that is suing Netflix. They are going to boycott the documentary. And this is Egypt and a lot of North Africa. But even if you look at Africa, because even our Western neighbors, our West African neighbors, and a vast majority of Africa is saying no, because it's also offensive towards Africans, to black Africans. They're like, but no, that's not that. Why are you taking our culture and projecting it onto Egypt's culture? So a lot of Africans themselves are like, this African American thing that you guys are pulling in, we're not gonna stand with that, right?
Keep it in America. We don't want it here.
So a lot of people are, a lot of the world at large is saying that they're going to boycott the film, and even Western countries. I was looking at the comment section. People from Ireland and people from...
It doesn't, that's what I'm saying.
People already don't
And now they're saying, it says that...
now when I heard it was about Jada, I was like, oh yeah.
It said, this article says, it's from Egyptian Streets. It says, on Sunday the 30th of April, Egypt's free satellite documentary channel, I can't pronounce the name, announced its plans for the creation of their own new documentary about Queen Cleopatra, based on studies of historians, archaeologists, and anthropology experts. So they are pushing back. They're like, you know what, now we're not going to let other people write our history for us. So we're going to write our own history. But we are not going to do that. So it says Afrocentrism is a movement that promotes African culture and emphasizes its contributions to the development of Western civilization. It suggests in particular that ancient Egypt's rulers and its population were black. Yet that this fact was revised and ultimately wiped from Western and worldwide scholarship. This is what they're saying. So Egypt was black. Cleopatra's physical appearance and beauty has long been at the forefront of her legacy, and her physical appearance was often mentioned by artists and writers such as Shakespeare and early Greek scholars who described her beauty in their poetry and writings. Ancient artwork on statuary and coins depict her as plain with a Ptolemaic Greek nose, as you saw by that sculpture. Cleopatra was primarily of Ptolemaic Greek descent, with some Persian and Sogdian Iranian ancestry, according to scholars. This is based on the fact that her Seleucid family, which reigned over much of West Asia, intermarried with the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Macedonian Greek family. The identity of Cleopatra's unknown mother is the root of the controversy, as American archaeologist and Egyptologist Betsy Bryan of Johns Hopkins University told Newsweek that the Queen's mother has been suggested to have been from the family of the priests of Memphis. If this were the case, then Cleopatra would have at least been 50% Egyptian in origin. So to say that, she wasn't Egyptian either,
is also in question.
But I think at the end of the day, no one knows. So I think that's part of my argument, is like, where are we going with, what are we trying to achieve?
What we're saying is that she wasn't black. That is the argument. She wasn't black.
That is the debate.
I think
that is the contest thing.
Look, the variable there is whether she was olive toned or white. That's the argument there. But she definitely wasn't black.
But I think America has been allowed to, and I'm gonna say this for what it is, trample on people's kind of rights and have this attitude of, if we say this, this entitled behavior, like if we say this, then this is how it should be. This is how they've been allowed to get away with it for so long that they now just feel the right to, I'll come in and make a movie about you and depict you however I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they've been doing that, and they've been allowed to do that with everything. I saw a picture of America and the British side of things, where Africa has been dug up, and then the buildings have been built there, and then Africa is just a big hole, which obviously depicts, you come here, you take out gold, out diamonds and everything, you make yourselves rich, and then you leave us circling here. So they've been doing that for so many years that they've now become so entitled to, we can do what we want, there's nothing we can say about it. But now what they don't realize is that people are starting to get tired of it. People are starting to say, wait a minute here. You can't just keep doing this to us. We also must now have a history. We also have things that we want to, show the world. But you keep coming here with your way of doing things and trampling upon our rights at the end of the day. So I think people are starting to get tired of this notion that we can do what we want, and they're starting to speak out. And so I think kudos to people who are actually standing up and saying, we don't agree with us. Because I think America's got away with it for a long time. And even some of the European countries got away with it for a long time.
Yeah. Just closing remarks.
Oh, yeah. I think I agree with what Xavier Hendricks just said right here. Jay's laughing there. No, it's true what he's saying, because they do it a lot. And I think if you go and actually watch the full Piers Morgan show that they had with Dr. Basim and the other American, what was he, a director or what?
He was a writer, an activist.
But he just irritated me just looking at him.
He wrote the book, A Case for Cancel Culture, that is.
Yeah, Case for Cancel, he wrote that. But if you even just look at the argument that they had there.
I didn't know that, but just looking at you just look like
the whole way he came across was like, please call me he, she, him, her. I'm like, if you're already starting like this.
But even when you watch that full thing, you can literally just see who's wrong and who's right from that whole discussion they have there. Because he has no facts, the other guy.
Yeah.
All he can do is pull his face.
Yeah, the whole time he's a cunt. Well, but he played nicely into his hands so that guy can, Basim could.
Because the comments is just for.
But you can hear Basim is obviously educated. You can hear he thinks the thing through. Now, and
you can hear that he's Egyptian.
But
it's his culture.
But here's another problem with this woke mob mentality, right? They come with no facts. All the things are just based on whatever they want it to be based on. So when you go up against someone that actually comes there with hardcore facts, you're gonna crumble, bro. It's a house of cards.
No, they don't crumble. They just pull their face.
So the thing is, it's oh wow, Netflix. I'm on their YouTube channel right now. And they obviously posted the trailer, right? And their comments are turned off.
Yeah.
The Queen Cleopatra trailer. And you can't say that they turned off the comments for everything because I went to go look at other trailers and their comments.
Because they know people are most not going to
because people are like, if you look at, like, I was just watch the commentary on YouTube and even go to that, I'll link the video of Bassem Youssef on Piers Morgan, and people that were looking at that, they were like, everybody in the comment section is like, no, we draw the line. Right. Even Africans, even South Africans, all shades and colors, and from the Nigerians and the Zimbabweans, they're like, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. So if you think that you are winning and that you are appeasing some people, you literally like appeasing 1% of the population of the world.
And this is coming from Africans.
From Africans.
So then the beauty of this thing is
that Xavier said earlier, sorry, about the Wakanda thing. This one guy is a Nigerian podcaster as well. He's like, who talks like that in Africa? Yeah. We don't talk like that.
But
this is offensive.
It is offensive.
It is offensive.
It's disrespectful. It's like,
I'm going to beat you now.
It's like now, you're not taking us now for a pop.
So,
taking us in our faces now.
So,
who goes there? I am King Kachala. It's like,
so why do we sound like we don't know? Like we don't have
He wasn't gonna break it up. You speak 9 syllables. I am King Kachala.
So look, the thing is, that's the power of the masses. The masses has the power to shut things down and say, okay, fine. Because the reality of the matter is we've been ruled or driven or guided by the vast minority. Right? And people are tired of that. People are saying, no, this is just wrong. Which, you know what? But
even in Wakanda, it's supposed to be based on Africa.
Look,
African
given its fantasy though.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna depict Namibia and South Africa in there, throw at least a little bit of an Indian in there, or a color so now and then, let him much show face there, because we are so there.
And that was the argument. I mean, you could have, and even those people, they could have been legit from the actual cultures because they didn't say anything. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. They could have at least featured. Given that, give Black Panther something. They had a South African actor there as.
Yes, just some of the comments on that video. On that video of the one on it of Piers Morgan, Bassem Youssef on Piers Morgan. This woman says, as a black woman with a bachelor's degree in ancient history, I couldn't agree more with Bassem. Cleopatra was not black, she was Greek. And she wasn't even African by blood. I'm really annoyed with Hollywood trying to fake woke and race-swapping characters like it was a bit of a stretch to make Ariel black, but she's a fictional character. But making a documentary on Cleopatra and then casting a black woman to play her is just downright distasteful and wrong. So she says, I would be so disappointed if actual historians were part of this documentary, which they were. Historians were part of this documentary because everyone knows that Cleopatra was not black and had very little, if any, African blood in her DNA or bloodline. There are literal coins of this lady's face and nothing about her features are African or black. There is literally no excuse for this blatant disrespect to Egyptian culture and history. This one guy, David Rogers, is saying, this dude making the silliest, most immature faces while Dr. Yusuf explains and clarified his own points back to him is just all you need to know about who is right here. This person says, as an Indian, I strongly support Bassem. It's high time people stand up for their culture and stop getting lost in being woke. This other person says, I'm Egyptian and this is beyond ridiculous. I was once talking proudly about my country, about my country's history like any Egyptian, and then an American told me to keep myself out of black people's business.
This is the entitlement of Americans. Americans are rude and entitled. Given not all of them, very few are not.
So okay, guys. So that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for your input. You guys must really go and read the comments. It's hilarious. For me, when I watch those kinds of things,
I go straight to the comments. As I hear in the comments, it's gonna scut, and then for real, they never disappoint in the comment section. They don't disappoint there.
So thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already and you did like this video, please like it. If you didn't like it, please dislike it as well. You can click it. There is a dislike button there. We don't want to force you into
but we really want you to like it.
But if you did find something insightful in this, please do click that. Do click that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe.
You see, you are the problem with society.
Stop it. It's my African roots coming to the fore, okay?
Roots.
So please click that subscribe button as well. And you can hit that notification bell. We have shows every single day, Monday to Friday. And yeah, thank you so much. Until next time, guys. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.